Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Welcome into Weekend Statements. Now, throwing a curveball because it is Mackey and Judd, but today it's Declan and Judd because Phil is out traveling for the holiday. So it's Minnesota Sports with Declan and Judd, and you are going to get our weekend statements, including I think we're going to get a couple of, not one really hot statement regarding the Vikings from Declan Goff as well. He teased it in PD, which you can go and find an hour-long show in which we gave our pie chart, we gave our hottest Vikings takes, and nitpicks as well. But Declan, I want you to start us off with your statement regarding, it sounds like a Vikings tight end.
Okay, I'll stay there. I can start you there. I have a couple Vikings-related statements, but we can go there.
Okay.
Here's my statement. TJ Hockenson contract extension. I don't know if it was necessary.
Wow.
I don't know if it was necessary.
Wow.
Now, he's coming back from ACL surgery. He's certainly not going to be like 100% after, obviously, reconstructive knee surgery. It took a while to get that surgery because the swelling was so significant.
Right.
So far this season, TJ has caught 34 balls for 378 yards. He missed half the year and is on pace for, 428 yards by season's end. So if he missed half the game, he'd be on pace for, an 800, 900 yard receiving season. No touchdowns this year for TJ.
Yeah.
And when I look at Jefferson and Addison and Hockenson, yes, they have great weapons here. Was paying a tight end the best way to go about cap management? I don't know. They're going to have to figure out their offensive line issues. I'm not in the business of giving a huge payday to Aaron Jones or maybe any other free agent running back.
Yeah,
I'm in the business of finding a supplemental running back. I'm not saying they don't ignore that position.
Yeah.
But when I look at TJ Hockenson and I look at the rest of this roster, was paying a tight end. He had a huge drop yesterday's game. A huge drop that he has to haul in. I don't know if paying a tight end was the wisest move.
All right. I'm going to slow you down for just a second here.
Okay.
Because I don't believe...
Talk me off the ledge.
Yep. I don't believe that any judgment on Hockenson and that extension can be made this season.
Okay.
He missed all the training camp. He missed so much time. And yes, he had to drop that, he is paid to catch contested balls. That's part of his job. He also had a huge fourth down catch in which he toe tapped a receiver would, which was a gorgeous play, which the majority of tight ends probably can't make because they ain't going to toe tap that well. But that being said, I think it's unfair to pass judgment on that contract. Now, if we get into next season and it's still I don't know about this, but I think with a full training camp, it's going to be very different.
Okay.
So I get your point. I think your point is exactly why the Lions traded him and then drafted Laporta, who's been fantastic.
Right.
So your point is not without relevance, but I also think that because of the circumstances, it's very hard to judge it was a mistake or not. Let's get into next year. If we're through October of next year and the trend is still he gets some passes, he doesn't get, he drops some, then I think we probably have a conversation there. But I'm not convinced that it was a mistake, at least not now. The injury really derailed, I think, a lot of his potential for this season.
To play devil's advocate against Dex and his hot takes, PFF-wise, he has a 79 grade, which is 5th out of 37 tight ends. His receiving grade is also 5th out of 37 tight ends, and that's also missing half the season. I will say, though, his cap number next year is $16.8 million.
Yeah, that might get redone.
I mean, that right now he is his contract is he's the second highest paid tight end in football.
Yeah.
And if he's going to be the highest paid, one of the highest paid tight ends in football, I need more production. I need more execution. I need more.
Right. But I think the most important starting point for what you just said is he probably has to get the ball more then.
Yeah.
From a fundamental play calling standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's not dropping. It's not like there's a drop a week. So I feel like that the Vikings have tried their best to get him the ball at times and shoehorn him in. But I feel like that can't be the case going into 25, and I don't think it's going to be. And also, you know what else, Declan Goff? Let's see who the quarterback is as well. I feel like J.J. McCarthy's style and arm probably would be more geared towards incorporating Hockenson than Darnold's might be. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, Sam's been fantastic. But I just think there's a lot of moving parts within the TJ Hockenson discussion that we don't have yet because he's coming off a knee that was, if not shredded, was in very bad shape.
Okay. All right, Judley. Let's hear Judd's first statement from the weekend.
My first statement is this. The Wild are getting nothing from key players.
Oh, wow.
Now, the first line, Kirill, I absolve him. He's having a great year, okay? But let's talk about the injury about 9 games ago to Joel Eriksson, who, by the way, I think is close to returning. We're recording this on Monday morning. The Wild play the Blackhawks Monday evening at the X. They'll then be off until Friday. I think Eriksson is close to returning. But if this team is going to be for real, the disappearing act, the Houdini disappearing act, being performed by the following players is not acceptable, okay? I'm going to start with you, Matt Boldy, who, by the way, I thought that you were past this. In the 9 games without Eriksson, he has 2 goals. He's taken a ton of penalties. He's reaching again. He's not skating, standing still. Dude, you're paid $7 million a year. You got off to a great start. Every time you play like this, it's an indictment because we've seen you play your best. And I'm not saying you're going to be great every game, but the disappearing act. Oh, okay. The next one. No surprise. You know who has 1 goal in 9 games since Ek went out? And this is not all based on him, by the way, being out. It's just the reference point. Marcus Johansson. Again, I don't know why you got a contract extension. I quite frankly don't know why you maintain a place on the second line, but you do. And then the poster child for disappearing, Ryan Hartman.
Oh, yeah.
He has no points since November 19th. He has, I should say, no goals since then. And he was moved up to the second line center when Eriksson got hurt. Failed miserably. He has now been demoted to the third line playing wing. And last week in the loss to the Panthers had one of the typical I'm getting frustrated games, taking dumb penalties, running guys. Yeah. Again, another guy that got an extension. And then it continues. Marcus Foligno, no goals since November 21st. Freddie Gaudreau, who's now been moved up to the second line. He belongs nowhere near the second line, but he has replaced Hartman there. He has 1 goal in the 9 games since Ek got hurt. In essence, as I told AJ last week on an episode of JHS Decks, the 2024-25 Wild losing Ek appears to be akin to the 84-85 Oilers losing Gretzky. It shouldn't be that way. I just went through a litany of players who need to do more. And they talk about it. Yeah, we got to do... Well, you know what? Quit talking about it. Start producing. This team got off to a great start. It is now slumping. It's struggling. You knew that they would slump at some point in time, but you can't have this many people who are key to what you're trying to do disappear.
I know I don't join Judd's Hockey Show as much anymore. Dex Tweets moved on to some Twin Show stuff. It just logistics. I get no. Where the hell did Declan go on Judd's Hockey Show? We took those minutes and we moved them over to the Twin Show. AJ's obviously killing it too on JHS. So that, and in fact, it was an upgrade. I have no shame in admitting that. Got AJ Fredrickson, you got JP, you got Jesse Pierce there contributing to Judd's Hockey Show.
Well, they're great. They're fantastic. Were you. I'm not ripping you.
But looking at what the Wild this year, their goaltending has been above expectations. They're stopping pucks and they're preventing goals at an above average rate. It's carried them this year. They've had a really good shot. Now I know they got their butts whooped on Saturday night. And only 5 goals on 24 shots allowed. The Wild only had 18 shots on goal.
Volstedt was playing goal too because Gus is out.
Gus is a little hurt.
Well.
But the problem with the Wild is, and maybe where they have been a little bit fraudulent, where I would have some pauses, is their goals per 60 and their finishing rates are at average or below average rates.
Yeah.
And now I'd rather have elite goaltending and mediocre offense than the opposite, because if you don't have goaltending in this league, you are just screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Hot goaltending can carry an average team.
Yep.
But you're starting to see some of that level off a little bit, and they can't afford for their goaltending then to also regress while their offense isn't living up to expectation.
And their special team has been awful. The penalty kill again is
terrible.
awful. The power play has been awful.
I mean, I can't believe it. But how quickly those goals are being scored is insane.
But just from a starting point, Matt Boldy can't disappear. There's no excuse for it. Matt Boldy can drive a line. I know that you would like your center to, right? But with Eriksson Ek out, the Wild does not have a second line guy at center that can drive the line. You know who can? Matt Boldy. Where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
This I'm here, now I'm not here act. I honest to God, Dex, was naive enough to believe that was done. That he was now going to be at least consistent. But when you don't move your feet, when you're reaching and hooking, and then I can't believe I got a penalty. When you're not scoring, you're not accounting for goals, you're paid too much to do that. And I'm just, I always go back to then Charlie Coyle, Greenway. It's like these big guys, they got to work their asses off.
Yeah.
They got to work their ass off. And Boldy has the talent. I do not want to give up, and I'm not. But if you're going to be a serious contender, which this team started off looking like it could be, it's not that hard to figure out. You're going to get guys hurt. On FanDuel Sports North, right? Well, they got a lot of guys out. Well, everyone loses guys. It happens. It doesn't give you license to fall apart, and it does not give your other players who are still in there beyond guys named Kaprizov a license to absolutely just sort of check out. Very disappointing.
I'll give you another Vikings statement here as I gave you the acapella Batman transition. I'll give you a Vikings one.
Oh, I like it. Old school Batman.
The statement is, inject this quote into my veins. So after the game, Justin Jefferson, when the Vikings defeated the Seahawks yesterday on Sunday, was asked about the comparisons between this 2024 Vikings team, which is 13-2 and in the driver's seat to potentially have the number one seed in the NFC, to the 2019 LSU team that Jefferson was on with Burrow and Chase that went undefeated. It's one of the best college football teams that's ever been assembled. They just steamrolled their way to the national championship, and was asked, do you see any comparisons to that? And Jefferson said, oh, for sure. Not just what we're doing out there on the field, but the way we carry ourselves, the way we treat each other. In 2019, when I won a championship at LSU, it was the same type of vibe. The team is just together, fighting for one another. Every single game, it definitely feels the same. We talked a little bit about this on Purple Daily on Hottest Takes. Jefferson is not going to be one, I think, to throw out a quote like this every single year about every team he's been on. Jefferson was on the 13-4 team that got bounced against the Giants. We never heard the quote then. He's had a couple middling teams before that. He was on his rookie year team. That team started 0-5, got hot in November and October, but then ended up missing the playoffs. He's not throwing a quote out like this just to give a reporter a juicy little answer. Mm-hmm. He's a very calculated guy, and he's a hyper-competitive dude that just wants to win. It's why when I think at times he's not getting the ball, it's really not a frustration thing for JJ because he just wants to win football games and compete for championships. When he is comparing the 2024 Vikings to probably the best college football team of the last 15, 20 years, that's no coincidence, man, and it should make you excited. I don't think you need to look at that quote and just kind of keep skimming down and, oh, okay, yeah, that's a nice little filler quote. That's a pretty big piece of praise there from Jefferson on this year's team because he went to a championship and he knows what it takes and the ingredients it is to get there. And if he's saying that this team has that same moxie and mojo, I would be very excited if I'm a Vikings fan.
Absolutely. And yeah, and this team also, like you can tell, they are very tight. They are very tight. And that's a key thing here too. There has been since the start of training camp, and it continues, an internal belief among this group that they can do something special. And they're backed up by the record. They're backed up by another important thing, point differential. They're plus 100 something. But the point is, they're winning a bunch of tight games, close games. And the difference is in 2022, when they lost 4 games, every one of those 4 defeats, while not a lot of losses, was by double digits. This year, the 2 defeats that they've suffered are by a total of 12 points. And so I think Jefferson sees something special here. And it's why, to go back to last year when they're all like, well, Kirk's our quarterback. If we don't bring back Kirk and stuff, that's such a hollow talking point. That's such a hollow thing because you know what? These guys are going to do their best for the most part to adjust to whoever they've got. And Darnold stepped in and done a fantastic job. And I do think Darnold is well liked. So I think that quote makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I don't know. Do I think that Jefferson would blow smoke? Absolutely. Do I think he would blow that much smoke? Probably not. I agree with you. So yes, it is a tight team. It is a close-knit team. It is a team that feels like it feeds off each other offensively and defensively. By the way, not always the case. There can be major friction between the two sides of the football. So yeah, I think it's an important reference point that he was willing to go there.
Absolutely. Next statement for you, Judd. What do you got?
Next statement from me is goodbye to a legend. Sad news came down on Saturday. Ricky Henderson passing away at the far too young age of 65. Pneumonia, I guess. And I believe he passed away on Friday, and the family didn't announce it, for privacy's sake, I'm sure, until Saturday. 1,406 stolen bases. Lead all-time MLB lead in that, and 81 career home runs from the leadoff spot, also the most in big league history. I saw him play countless times as as a Yankee. I went on a trip to watch a Cubs game in the 90s at Wrigley and saw him play there. I forget for which team. By the end of the day, the guy played for a ton of teams, including, I believe, 2 stints with Oakland, which will be the team that he is remembered most for. But just what a dynamic player, what a fantastic player, and really, really sad too. We've lost, it feels like in the last 5 years or so, Dex, we've lost a lot of Hall of Fame players, and it's sad, but a lot of them, 80s, 90s, so it's like great lives. 65 is too young. Really, really, really sad, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a guy that I saw a lot growing up, probably overall one of the more dynamic players I saw too, at least in my youth.
Baseball, with the game moving in a different era, like we will never see this record broken. Like the 1,400 stolen bases, never. It won't happen in my lifetime. Maybe something. Baseball and sports love to evolve and then revert and change. Maybe something happens in the lifetime after me that this gets. Something happens where it gets broken, but 1,400 stolen bases. I think the year that stands out to most to me, and by the way, like he was a perennial all-star and top 5, top 10 MVP guy in his 20s with the A's and the Yankees. Mm-hmm. But at age 38, he goes back to Oakland. He had some stops in Toronto and San Diego. He goes back to Oakland in 1998. At age 39, okay, he has a WAR of 2.3, so he's a slightly still above average player. But he leads Major League Baseball in stolen bases with 66 as a 39-year-old, led the MLB. Mind you, this is the steroid era in 1998. He had 118 walks. 118 walks. That was the most in the big leagues, dude. He was an incredible special player. I seldomly remember him at the tail end of his career. He's probably legitimately... if I were to make some top 10 list of guys I could see in their prime, he's probably in there for me because I never got to experience that. But these type of records, the stolen bases, the leadoff home runs, I think Altuve could be chasing him. I think actually might be even closing in on him. But that
George
type of
Springer.
player, you won't see him. Yeah,
George Springer, I think, is 20 behind him. But let's just go through the early portion of his career, stolen bases and caught stealings, Declan. So in his second year, 1980, 100 stolen bases, caught stealing 26 times. 82, 130 stolen bases, caught stealing 42 times.
Right.
Followed that up with 108 stolen bases, 19 caught stealings with the A's again in 83. And in his first year as a Yankee in 85, he only stole 80 and played in the All-Star game at the Metrodome. So just such a great, great career. And 65 is far too young as well. So
yeah. The fourth most games played, too, of all time. 3,081. The fact, in my opinion, even, and God, we're going to see another Hall of Fame bout here. Ichiro might be the unanimous Hall of Famer, and I would even argue if anyone doesn't vote for him, you're nuts.
Somebody won't. You know somebody won't.
Oh, yeah. Somebody won't. But the fact, even in 09, which was his first year of eligibility, he got 94.8.
Yeah.
Like, there was 6% of voters that didn't think Ricky Henderson was a first-time Hall of Famer.
Correct, because they won't put you in on the first ballot. They believe that you belong, but, and I believe that the first guy to go in with the full vote was Mariano Rivera, right?
Rivera, I believe.
A couple of years ago.
Jeter was a pretty high percentage, too.
Yeah, he did, yeah. But yes, this whole notion that you're a Hall of Famer, but you don't belong. I mean, Willie Mays did not get 100% of the vote. Willie freaking Mays. Like, if you go back and look at the players who were just phenomenal and couldn't get the entire vote in year one because it was year one, how ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd.
Anyway, sad news.
I'll give you another one here on statements of Mackey and Judd. I think this is going to be the most fun Vikings-Packers game of my lifetime. I think this is going to be the most fun Vikings-Packers game of my lifetime.
2015,
15
your guy
was a good
Teddy.
one. Yep, great
in
one.
Green Bay.
The
Vikings win.
Punt. Yep, that was a big one.
Yeah.
To end the year in 2012 with AP's magical MVP year, another fun game.
Yeah, that one wasn't. Yeah, that was fun, but that was such a weird year.
It was a weird year. But,
I never believed in that team, but AP was off the charts.
Yeah, so like that was a fun one. Obviously the playoff game in Lambeau, the mooning incident with Randy Moss. Like, there's been some fun Vikings-Packers games. Hell, both Brett Favre games in 09. Like, those were also can't miss stuff.
Yeah, I think those were the most. Yeah, for me.
I think this one's gonna be a blast, man. Outside of 12 and 15, when playoff spots, divisions were on the line, like this is for not just the bragging rights, Vikings versus Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for both teams' chances of home playoff games. For the Vikings' sake, it's still trying to get the NFC. Like, there's a ton at stake here, and I can't wait, man. This is gonna be an absolute blast of a game.
I agree. I guess if I had to, just off the top of my head here, quickly rank them, I think the two in 2009 with Favre, just as far as anticipation goes. And I mean, I will say this. The game in Lambeau in 09 paid itself off. I have never heard a guy booed that loudly. Like, it was incredible. But as far as non-Favre games go, this is definitely up there. And the fact that the Packers are really good now, because they got off to the weird start, right? They're 10-4. They're good. But, Love comes back in the game against the Vikings, and I wouldn't say played great. He definitely, the first half, he was rusty as hell. He is now playing really well. So, yeah, I think 2009, in my opinion, won't be beaten, personally. But after that, this one's going to be really, really intriguing. And it's going to, as far as I am concerned, this game decides it. Mm-hmm. Because if the Lions are almost, I think that San Fran is going to play hard, but they've got a ton of guys out. They're out of the playoffs. So I think the Lions win against the Niners. So can the Vikings get past the Packers? Because if you get past the Packers, you're going to Ford Field to also play a team that is beat to hell, as we talked about on PD. So you can see that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great.
I'll give you one more statement here.
Too, Dex.
Oh, it's going to be very expensive.
The get-in prices are skyrocketing, not surprisingly. Yeah. Okay, my last statement is this. It's a non-sports one. So I had to run some errands on Saturday, okay? The most annoying part of anything to do with holiday shopping, it doesn't happen in the stores. It happens in the parking lot. The parking lot is beyond dangerous People are not looking. They're paying because they're so bottled up with their thoughts of what they're going to go in and get. And it's the holidays, which drive people mad. And literally, backing out of your space is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
It is the parking. The stores are annoying. I'm not saying there's too many people. But the reality is, you know what? If your cart collides, who really cares? You don't have an insurance policy on your cart. You don't care about your cart. You know what you care about? Your car. And people it's phenomenal. And then what makes it worse is, don't back out, back in. Is there anything worse than back in guy who
I don't know.
Who will bring a stop to an entire parking row because he's putting his car in reverse and then he's coming forward a little bit and then he's going backwards? Back in guy drives me nuts. The whole driving thing, the damn parking lots are a disaster. They're dangerous. They are my least favorite part of anything to do with the actual holiday shopping process.
I'm actually a back-in guy.
Oh, God.
I'm a back-in guy. Now, back-in guy is
How
not
big's your
for
car?
everybody. My Mazda it's I can park it blindfolded. I mean, it's
that's
It's
better.
so
I'm
agile.
back-in guy with the big truck is the guy that drives me crazy because he blocks the whole damn row.
Yeah. I'm a big back-in guy. I think it's actually number one, it is safer. It's proven to be safer getting out of your parking spot if you're backed in than backing out, for the reasons you just talked about. But the thing that drives me more crazy about holiday shopping, or even like Phil's at an airport, I can't imagine what the airport's like on Christmas Eve on this Monday. It's just the lack of spatial awareness. Like, one of my biggest problems is in the crosswalk or like leading into a store, or even just a normal four-way intersection crosswalk.
Okay.
We've jumped the shark from there's these built-in awesome crosswalks that people that are supposed to walk from one curb to the next curb. And for whatever reason, something happened where instead of using the crosswalk, a pedestrian is going diagonally across the road, thus spending more time in the road, thus causing more problems with cars being backed up and waiting because you're physically not going straight down a crosswalk. Look at this the next time it happens. It's going to happen to you now. You're not going to probably be able to unsee it, and you're going to be like, oh, Dex was right. This idiot is, instead of just spending less time going straight parallel up the crosswalk, you're spending diagonal amount of time in the street, which makes no sense to me. That stuff drives me nuts. Absolutely bonkers. Can't stand it. Happens all the time.
I'll watch for it. I get more annoyed by the fact that at Christmas time, people quit paying attention because they're thinking about things that have nothing to do with driving. Well, and now the proliferation of cell phone use makes that worse.
Oh, yeah.
Pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to driving. Pay attention to, and here's the thing too. So if you got a big car, right? If you got the truck, I think that there should be special rows for these big cars, for trucks, away from the store. So you can go get your own. You're just going to have to walk. I think that those of us with smaller cars should have priority parking space closer to the store. If you're going to have that four-wheeler that's going to, and by the way, that's great. It's smart for the winter. You got to park farther away and give them bigger spaces to park in, but make them walk.
Okay.
Make them walk.
I see it. All right. I love your angst on this. This is
well,
great.
I was trying to, I was literally running some errands on the Saturday before Christmas, and it turned into a gong. It's like I went to the circus. I didn't want to go to the circus. I just wanted to get some stuff. And inside there are lots of folks, and I get that. But again, if I collide with you, nothing's going to happen. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I'm sorry. Excuse me, blah, 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 right? If you hit me with your damn car, we're going to have to exchange insurance. I'm going to have to get my car fixed. Like, just, you know what? As Aaron Boone once said to that umpire, tighten it up.
Tighten it up. So I said that Stephon Gilmore a few times yesterday as well in my Aaron Boone voice. Tighten it up, Stephon.
Stephon, yeah. Well, you know what? That guy was playing hurt.
He was. He probably was.
Cut him some slack, damn it.
Hit the like button, subscribe button here on the Score North YouTube channel. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify. We'll have a Flagrant Howls episode with Kyle Teige too later this afternoon. Go check out hottest takes on Purple Daily from Monday morning. If you missed Event Line, that's available from Sunday on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and podcast feeds. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. We'll be talking at you soon.